Is Ubaid on behalf of V Electronics, and in this video, we'll be talking about marginal benefit and the budget constraint. Okay, now when it comes to marginal benefit, before we move forward to marginal benefit, we'll be talking about marginal utility, which is a related concept, but not exactly the same. Okay, so when it comes to your marginal utility has to do with satisfaction. Okay, so this has to do with consumer or supplier satisfaction. When it comes to consumer satisfaction, it has to do with consuming a good. When it comes to supplier satisfaction, it has to do with supplying a good. Okay, so for example, okay, if you were to choose between, okay, and let's assume that this is a candy over here and a chocolate bar. Okay, so you have your candy and your chocolate bar. So we know that a consumer or a client may choose either one of these two, depending on which one is more satisfactory. Okay, so if the candy tastes better than the chocolate bar, it's possible that the consumer will go ahead and buy the candy with the $5 he or she has, right? So you have candy, right? So candy, this is where the resources are allocated to candy, for example, rather than the chocolate bar. Okay, this is where the consumer goes ahead and buys the candy. Okay, so candy, let's say 5 units of candy, and at this point you have 0 units of chocolate bar. Now, it turns out that as the person consumes more candies, okay, the satisfaction goes down. Okay, so at this point, let's say the person, let me draw a smiley face over here. Okay, this is this person over here, which consumes or who consumes candy. All right, now this person goes ahead and consumes more and more of that candy. And because he or she consumes more and more of that candy, what's going to happen is this person is going to lose interest in that candy because with every candy that this person consumes, okay, with every candy that this person consumes, the satisfaction is reduced. All right, so at this point, okay, if he consumes enough candies, okay, he wouldn't want candies anymore. Okay, so as a result of which he might switch to chocolate bars instead, because obviously he hasn't tried out chocolate bars, as a result of which he would want to try out a chocolate bar just to see if it tastes better than the candy, right? Because now that he's consumed so many candies, okay, consuming more candies doesn't make sense to him. All right, so all of a sudden, okay, 5 units of candies becomes 1 unit of candy. And all of a sudden, okay, 0 units of chocolate bar becomes 3 units of chocolate bars. All right. So this has to do with satisfaction. Okay. And just like your PPF, production possibilities frontier, okay, if you have two products, let's say candy and chocolate bars, which are substitute products, okay, what's going to end up happening is the marginal utility will shift from one product to the other. So as the marginal utility of candy goes down, as the satisfaction from consuming candy goes down, the marginal utility of consuming chocolate bar will go up. And this ties into another concept which is called marginal benefit. Okay, and when it comes to marginal benefit, this is relevant to economics because it has to do with the budget constraint. If you have $5 in your pocket, how would you spend those $5? Well, you have to decide where you get the most marginal benefit. Okay, so if the marginal benefit from consuming candy is more than the marginal benefit from consuming chocolate bars, then obviously you will spend your dollar on the candy. Now, as you keep on spending your money on candies, it turns out that the marginal benefit goes down. Why? Because the marginal utility goes down. The satisfaction from consuming candy goes down, right? The candy becomes tasteless. as you consume more, right? So the effect of the sugar is gone, right? Something that tastes nice doesn't taste nice anymore. As a result of which, now you switch to chocolate bars, which means the next dollar that you will spend, that money, that dollar will go towards the chocolate bar. And that has to do with your marginal benefit. Okay. So when it comes to a consumer, the marginal benefit depends on which one of these two products gets the consumer the most marginal benefit. When it comes to supplier, okay, if the supplier has, let's say, $500 to spend, it has to do with which one of these two products, whether candy or chocolate bar, will give him or her the most return. Okay, when it comes to production. Okay, so this has to do with revenue, right? So as you consume more, okay, let's say the supplier keeps on producing more chocolate bars. But it turns out as he produces more chocolate bars, okay, the consumer who is consuming the chocolate bar loses interest in the chocolate bars and he starts consuming candies instead. So at some point, because of diminishing marginal returns, which has to do with the reduction of marginal returns or benefits over a period of time as you consume more of your product. Okay, because of diminishing marginal returns, what's going to end up happening is the cost of production for the supplier will go up. All right, so the cost of production for the supplier will go up, as a result of which the marginal benefit from producing chocolate bars will be less compared to what it was before. And now all of a sudden, the marginal benefit from producing candies will be much more than the marginal benefit from producing chocolate bars. So this has to do with your budget constraint, whether you're a supplier or a consumer, and marginal benefit. On behalf of electronics, this is Ubay. Have yourself a great day.